In this video, I'm going to go over a couple of components. One is called series and the other one is domain. We're going to use a curved surface here, a primitive polygon. So you've done this already, but this will give you, I think that this will be an easier geometric form so we can kind of look at what these variables do. So the default polygon is a hexagon, and we can start to alter the inputs here. If you want to use a slider, you're going to go to params and choose it here. You could also double click and type in slider to bring up a number slider. And as we had done before, to change kind of the limitations of that, you can double click on where it says slider and input 10 for a maximum. Since this is a number of sides, I want these to be whole numbers. And so I'm going to click on OK. Right. So right now it's not plugged in. I just need to connect it. So this is the segments, right? Now we don't see anything because the number of segments is currently 0. When I start to move above 2, I should start to see a geometric object appear. Okay, so we're going to, and I think I'm going to go to a 4-segment polygon. Now we're going to use the series component. So you'll find this under sets, sequence, series. As with the number slider, you could double click and type in series. So if you're going to do that, do it that way, series, and there it is. Okay, so this is what we're going to be working with. Okay, for the series, we're going to need some copies of our slider here. So Control C, Control V, 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 and I'll bring these up. Okay, and then I'll start to connect them. So, and I'll illustrate what these are once we get them tied to the diamond shape here. Now, we're going to only need to work with the radius inputs. For this, we're not going to bother with the fillets for this. And the plane is basically going to default to this plane that's at 0 on the z-axis. So it's on this xy axis. All right, so when I connect this to the radius, so now these definitions here are controlling properties related to radius, sort of. And let's bring them all down to 1 so we can kind of see how they all work. Okay, so for the series, the start point, the first number in the series is 1. And I suppose technically it's this. So this is 0, 0 on the xy axis. This is 1. Let's see what happens when I bring it up. So you can see the first number in the series is now 2. Okay, so let's bring it back to 1. The step, that's going to be, well, let's go to count first so you can see something that has a little bit more immediate impact, right? If I boost it up to 2, now I have 2 of these polygons, 3, 4, etc. So I'll leave it at 4 for right now. All right, now with the step, what that's controlling is, we kind of hover over here, the step size for each successive number. So right now I'm set to 1, which means that, first of all, this is my start point. I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 objects here. And the step currently is 1. So from here to here is 1. If I boost it up to 2, I have 2 increments or 2 spaces. And again, my Rhino file was initiated from the feet template. So that's what is being displayed up here in the distance, after distance there. So if I can bring it up to 3, etc. So that's what is being, those are the controls for a series. Okay. the next one that we're going to work with is a range. So I think I said domain earlier, but I meant to say range. So a range has a domain, and we'll get into that momentarily. Okay, so for this one, you want to, before we go on to the next part here, you'll want to create a screenshot of what we're looking at right here. So you want to include, so I'm going to pan over so I can get the biggest image possible. I want to have in here the title of the file up here. I want to see the Grasshopper scripting, and I want to see the visualization in Rhino. So this is one screenshot. And just, you probably should try to play around a little bit with the settings here so that your screenshot, maybe illustrates some kind of exploration of what this particular tool can do. Okay, so I'll go ahead and make my screenshot. Okay, the next one, as I mentioned, is going to be something called range, and we're going to use the same polygon here. So I'm going to Control-C, Control-V, and bring this down. Okay, now I want to disconnect this. I didn't mean to bring that in. One way to disconnect one of these connectors is to hold down the Control key and go back to the 2 points that were mistakenly connected. All right, so I have a polygon here, and I don't want to see this one. So you're seeing a duplicate here that they're sort of overlaid on top of one another. But I'm going to make a sort of crossing around this and right-click and preview off. Okay, so now I'm just looking at this one right here. Okay, so range is the component that we're going to work with here, and this one you can also find in set sequence range, and you could also double click and type in range to find this tool. All right, now this works a little bit differently than the series tool. So let's get some inputs in there and you'll be able to sort of visualize how this works. Okay, so the domain, as defined here, is a range. Let's hover over this. A numeric range. So, 1 to 50, 4 to 7, etc. That is a domain. Now, it's only has, one input, but there is an input tool that you can use to bring in, the 2 numbers. But I'm going to show you a different way of doing it using a panel. So panels can be used on the input side and on the output side. I've created a panel, and in this panel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in here 1, let's get rid of all this text here, 1 to 10. Okay, and I'll make this a little bit smaller. And this one here is a number of steps, and I could use the same method, but I'm just going to make a copy of one of my sliders for this. This is a pretty simple set we're working with here. And I'm going to start to connect these like so. Okay, now with the range, I'm also going to connect it to the radius. So as you can see, we have some geometric figures appearing. Now for this one, I'm going to put another panel, and this one will be an output panel. So it's going to basically provide information about the figure, right? And I'm going to plug it in to the polygon output here. Actually, let's do this. Let's bring it down here. Okay, yeah, that's what I want. I want to connect it to this one that's the length of the polygon curve. Right, and I'm going to expand this. Okay, and we're going to kind of look at how these inputs over here affect what we see in the panel. Okay, so there are a number of steps here, and there is a domain range. Okay, so now let's take a look at what these values are doing. First of all, I'm going to bring this down to one step. As you may recall, when we had the steps in the series, it was basically just saying, okay, the next one will be 1, 1, 1, etc. And that's what this is doing here. Now with my domain, now this is where this tool is a little bit different, 1 to 10. So the reason that I put this one in as a kind of a text slider, and the reason I put this output is so we can visualize what's happening with these changes. Okay, so the domain is 1 to 5. So, or I just changed it to 1 to 5. So let's put this back at 10, where it had been. You know, we don't see this grid going all the way, but if we count here, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have a range of 10 here. Now, right now, I only have one step. If I start to increase this number, there's now a second one appearing after this initial one. Okay, we're still within this domain of 1 to 10, but the number of steps has changed. And also, you'll notice over here in our output panel that there's now 2. Okay, so we start at 0 and we have 2, and that the numbers in between have changed. Okay, if I again bring this back down to 1, this is my value here, 56.56, which will stay, but it's going to shift over to 2. And you can, play with this step slider to see, just how many we can get in there. Now it's only going to go up to as high as I've established here with this maximum figure. If I was to raise this to say 20, now I can have, more objects within that same domain. Okay, so for this one too, you're going to be making a screenshot. So just, keep in mind that with the series, you're kind of starting at one point and you're expanding beyond. With the range, you've sort of set the maximum and you're kind of generating divisions between that, depending on the number of steps that you're including. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up here and I'm going to make a screenshot similar to the way that I had with the first one.